Worked at trimming shoes. Vanzetti was a traveling man, pushed his cart round with his hands.
So glad you could join us. Tonight we have a riveting interview with Bartholomew Vanzetti, an Italian anarchist. Please stay tuned after this short break.
Where we are is the crime site, you might say the crime of the century. I can remember walking up the street and seeing all these cars and people around my house. I couldn't believe what had happened. It's a phenomenon. These were not two ordinary men. These were men of poetic sensibility. These were men of infinite courage. Sacco and Vanzetti. They are opponents of the war. They are unpatriotic. And this becomes far more important than whether they committed this robbery and this murder. There's really no place in the world that's untouched by this trial, by the summer of 1927. I think one of the reasons that the case has lasting change is because it speaks to issues that remain alive today. There's always something that happens in the daily newspapers that brings that case to mind. It's a story that talks about the injustices of prejudice in a society because of the social position that you occupy. It exposes realities that many people would like to forget. If you espouse the wrong political views, if you're not a conformist, the chances of you getting a fair trial are substantially diminished. And if Italians are no longer looked upon with the same contempt they were in 1920, they've been replaced by other ethnic groups.
Welcome, Mr. Vanzetti. Thanks for talking with us today. Can you please share with us what your childhood was like?
Well, I grew up in a poor family, and I was very smart. Like, I could have went to Harvard if my dad never took me out. And my mom died in my arms of cancer, and it was very hard for me.
Can you explain to us what an anarchist is?
An anarchist is a person who seeks to overturn by violence all constituted forms and institutions of society and government with the idea of self-managed society.
What influenced your views on being an anarchist?
My father played a big role in my views in becoming an anarchist.
What happened on December 24th, 1919?
4 men attempt to rob the payroll of LQ, White Shoe Company in Bridgewater. A shotgun was fired at the moving payroll vehicle but missed. The attempt was unsuccessful and no one was hurt.
What happened on April 15th, 1920?
Well, a paymaster and his guard were carrying a factory payroll for the company, Slater and Morrill Shoe Company, of $15,776 through South Braintree, New Boston, Massachusetts. 2 men were near a fence and pulled out guns and fired upon the paymaster and his guard. After killing the paymaster and guard, they stole the payroll and left.
So then what happened?
My partner Nicola Sacco and I fell into a police trap that was set up. We were both armed and I was found with the shotgun shells, which led to the police to believe that I was the shotgun bandit from the attempt Bridgewater robbery on December 24th, 1919.
What happened during the court for the Bridgewater robbery?
Despite a strong alibi, which was supported by many witnesses, I found guilty and sentenced to 10 to 15 years in prison.
Do you think the sentence was harsh?
Yes, I believe the sentence was harsh. It was a first crime criminal offense, and I had no previous criminal record.
How were you connected to the Braintree murder that happened on April 15th?
My guilty consciousness made police authorities to believe that I had an involvement in the Braintree murder that happened on April 15th.
What had happened during court on April 9th, 1927, almost 7 years after the Braintree murder?
Nicola Sacco and I, Bartholomew Vanzetti, were both sentenced to death.
During the trials, why did you not take the stand in your own defense?
Well, I feared revealing my radical activities that I had partaken in.
How have the trials you have partaken in produced a worldwide impact in many different countries?
There have been mass protests in New York, London, Amsterdam, and Tokyo. There have been walkouts across South America. Also, there have been many riots in Paris, Geneva, Germany, and Johannesburg.
What is going to happen on August 23rd, 1927?
Nicola Sacco and I are sentenced to electrocution.
Well, that's all we have time for today. Thank you, Bartholomew, for joining us today. Stay tuned next week for the latest breaking news. Good night, everyone.